a lot of people still reeling this afternoon, I think, still trying to digest, make sense of what happened with the Twins yesterday. The organization, of course, sold off nearly 40% of their major league roster over the course of the last few days. So the biggest splash, you may have heard the name Carlos Correa. Even if you're a casual baseball fan, that probably perked your ears back up. Well, he is going back to Houston, and that was one of the biggies. If you take a look at the Twins Instagram account, well, it's kind of sad to take a look at here. So let's kind of rattle through it. Carlos Correa. Seth, is it Johan or Joan?
Joan Duran.
John Duran, Harrison Bader, Chris Paddock, Randy Dobnik, Willie Castro, Brock Stewart, Danny Colomb. Colomb? Yeah, Colomb, you're right.
John's going to know better than me.
Yeah, Griffin Jacks, Louis Varland, and Ty France. So, yeah. We were, like a lot of you, following either our social media accounts or getting texts from friends, or I even got one from a friend in California who was like, what are the Twins doing here? So I think a lot of people were paying attention all over the country. Social media was going nuts. This is one of the rare times I actually like being on Twitter/X now, because you get those really great instant reactions. So we actually just wanted to pull a couple of your I know you appreciate this one, Seth. So somebody tweeted at Justin Guard Cafe, Twins trade Wally the Beer Man to Yankees at trade deadline, which is kind of a, if you know, you know, back in the day at the Metrodome. Wally the Beer Man, beloved icon. Shane Benson tweeted this one: we're trading Minnie and Paul for cash consideration, so nobody was left untouched. Carson Babini pulling out this oldie but goodie t-shirt. It has been 0 days since a Minnesota team has hurt me. Yeah, to preach that. Nick Lewis apparently found Target Field up for sale on Facebook Marketplace. $200. You want to go in on that?
I'm in.
Okay, let's do it. And then this one was probably, I think, one of our favorites. CJ Fogler. Target Field is now a Spirit Halloween. So we were laughing through our confusion and our frustration today. But yeah, yesterday in the newsroom, gosh, between 12 and 5, the hits just kept on coming, and you were in and out of your office. Seth Kaplan, our managing editor here, longtime hardcore Minnesota Twins fan, Vikings fan, Wolves fan, Minnesota sports fan. I had to have you in here because, you know, your reaction yesterday was priceless, and I think it reflected just a lot of what people are feeling.
It didn't stop. I think when we thought maybe 4 or 5 guys would get traded, we were like, okay, we'll see who they are. We'll see if, you know, Buxton's name gets on there. That would have been the one that would have shocked everybody. But then when the 6th one came, and the 7th one came, and the 8th one came, I was trying to look up, you know me, I'm looking up data, history.
Yep, you're the data guy.
I wanted to see if this has ever happened at this extent in Major League history. I couldn't find a team that's traded away this many players in the 24 hours of a deadline.
Really?
Usually 4 or 5 is a fire sale.
Wow.
And we got rid of 10 guys.
Amazing.
And I tweeted at one point a list of everyone who got traded.
Yeah.
And as I tweeted it out, someone was like, oh, add Ty France to that.
Jeez. Yeah.
It's like I couldn't even keep up at 5:14, 14 minutes after the trade deadline.
It's crazy.
And it's really just, it's unprecedented. I think that's the best word for it. I don't think this has ever happened, because remember, to trade 10 guys at the trade deadline, you have to have 10 guys that are tradable. This is a good roster.
Yeah.
There are teams that wanted 10 guys off this roster. That doesn't happen in teams that are selling most of the time.
I wanted you here just because of, you know, your kind of institutional knowledge, your institutional fandom. But there was one other person that I thought of immediately who I was like, if we can get John Bonis on the show today, that's the guy that we would love to chat with, owner of Twins Daily and Zone Coverage, and then, of course, co-host of Gleeman and the Geek podcast. Longtime friend of Seth's here as well. You guys know each other. So thanks for joining us, John. Appreciate you being here.
Love to be here. Very excited to talk about a crazy day.
So let's start there. I actually kind of want to play-by-play of John Bonis yesterday on social media and your phone between like 12 and 5 especially.
Yeah, so we had 2 of the trades happen before yesterday, right? So then there were 8 players moved yesterday. About 11 o'clock, 11:30, I made the mistake of trying to go out and get lunch at like a park. And that's when the Bader news broke, right? And then we had, let's see, after that it was the Stewart news. And then after that, the Correa news, which blew us all away. I was on a live stream with Twins Daily, other writers and such, reacting to all things trade deadline. And we've gotten to, I think, 7 and then maybe 8 guys. Once Castro was moved, who was the 8th, no, the seventh player moved,
that's right.
we were like, okay, we're done. And we kind of looked at him and we were like, well, this has been a heck of a day, but at least they've got a couple arms left in the bullpen. We still got Louis Varland, and we got Griffin Jacks. And then with 5 minutes left to the trade deadline, that news broke, or really right at the trade deadline, that news broke. And if you've, I think that live feed is up on Twins Daily someplace. You're going to see about 8 stunned guys, like it's like 8 guys just stammering, trying to figure out, like, I don't know who pitches tomorrow.
Well, and there were rumors that Joe Ryan was being looked at by the Red Sox too. I think MLB tweeted that out right before the deadline as well. So then,
we did react to that, and I'd had a number of other people kind of saying, the Yankees keep sniffing around on Joe Ryan, like right up to the deadline, and so we're kind of like, boy, are we going to lose Ryan too? I mean, we had a little bit of an argument on Gleeman and the Geek last night. We did an immediate emergency reaction to it about 10 o'clock, about 8:30 last night, and we kind of argued about what the definition of a fire sale is. I mean, I guess you have to call it a fire sale because the 10 different players were moved. That's a fire sale, right? The question really is, like, was it a full teardown and rebuild? Right. I don't think it is a full teardown and rebuild. They didn't really touch the lineup much other than Correa, and they didn't touch the starting rotation at all. And both of those are in pretty good shape. The question is like, what do they do with the bullpen now?
Yeah.
It was a bullpen fire sale.
The top 5 guys gone?
Yeah. And they're really only the 5 guys you trusted. Like, we spent most of this season talking about how Rocco really needs to lean into those 5 guys. He's been pulling starters early. Yeah. If they get a 1-run lead, they'll scratch for a run in the 5th inning, because if they can get a 1-run lead in the 5th inning, they can turn over innings 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to each of these 5 guys and end up with a win. And that's how they've been winning all year. And then if not, if they go into it and they get to the bottom half of that bullpen, it can often turn into a blowout. We've seen blowouts against the Rangers, we've blowouts against the Brewers, etc. That's what's happened on these things. And now that's what's left, is the guys who are coming in blowouts, and then 5 guys from St. Paul. Yeah. It's gonna be a mess in August and September.
John, I wanted to get your take, because a lot of this comes down to the poll ads for the viewers out there, for the people who are fans of the team. I could go either way. I can play devil's advocate to whichever side you take. But I'd love to hear from you if you think these moves were made because this team is for sale, or if this team wasn't for sale and it was 5 years ago and they were the long-term owners, would this have still happened? Did the ownership and the team being for sale make a difference in your mind?
Yeah, I think it absolutely made a difference. I don't know. I wouldn't view this as something like a mandate came down from above saying, "Hey, we've got to save some. We got to unload everything. We got to do a fire sale." I will say this: I mean, they have a budget, and they cut that budget right after the 2023 season, where they won those games in the postseason. They cut payroll by $30 to $40 million, and what that did is it made a contracts like Correa's is something that is hard to have on the books. Yeah. You have to find it some way. If you thought you had that room to pay him $30 million a year, and now your payroll is being cut by $40 million a year, well, you can see where that's suddenly a problem. So I think this is a natural culmination of that, and I think that pay cut, that $30 to $40 million pay cut that we saw 2 years ago, and which has stayed with us this year, and it can probably be projected into the future, is a result of them trying to put the team up for sale, or at least is if they are just basically low on cash due to various things that they have in other businesses. The 2 things you would do is cut payroll and try to sell the team. And I think that's what we are seeing. We're seeing a natural culmination of events that happened 2 years ago play out today.
Well, John, we got to blame somebody, right? We all want to blame somebody. So in your pie chart of blame, what does it look like? Who's got the biggest chunk here? Well,
I memean, I'll give ownership the biggest blame. I mean, there's no question about that. They cut payroll at exactly the time you don't want to cut payroll. The Twins had finally had success in the postseason for the first time in 20 years. There was so much excitement going around about the team. And in Major League Baseball, you go through cycles where you are competitive and then you are uncompetitive. And they had just built themselves to the point where they were competitive, they could start drawing fans, they could start getting a new generation of fans, win some postseason games, really drive up their revenues. That's when you invest in a team in Major League Baseball. And to go and, in fact, kneecap it and do the exact opposite and cut $40 million and bring in a lethargy, for lack of a better word, both from the anger, by the way, as well as lethargy, but anger and lethargy, both in the fan base and I think within the organization itself, is unforgivable. So by that, they get the biggest slice of the pie. There's other slices that are going to be played out here as well. The front
I'm more
office
angry at
gets
the
some
lack
slices.
of movement after winning the playoff series than I am about yesterday.
Right.
I think to go back to your point about
I think that lack of movement was driven by the $40 million in payroll cut. If you took a look at what they had to spend, that $40 million got them down to, well, you can keep your roster as it was in the playoffs, but you can't add to it. And that's basically what we've seen them do over the last 2 years. If for the front office to overcome that, they would have had to do things like, gut their farm system and trade away. And even then, good players cost money. Like, even if you trade for them, you have to pay them. If you trade for a guy who's making $18 million a year, you got to come up with the $18 million a year no matter what you gave up for him. And I just don't think they had that money.
Yeah, and $40 million, $50 million, $60 million is still $40, $50, $60 million. But let's remember this team is up for sale for $1.5 billion. Yeah. I equate it to buying a $3 million home and having a problem with the toilet and the bathtub. Like, you're still going to find a way.
Right.
So I don't think that the moves that were made were purely because they want to clear some books and show this team, show a new owner that we've cleared some salary. I do think there were baseball moves made in these trades. You were on that call with Derek Falvey yesterday, and that was part of it. But I also don't think this was rearranging the furniture in the Titanic. Like John said, there are pieces in place. That rotation solid. The lineup didn't really get affected that much. But at some point, you have to make a decision. There were some guys that they moved that they do have control of, but a lot of the guys were on expiring contracts. What do you have? Lopez and Buxton under contract for next year, and then a bunch of arbitration guys.
The base payroll next year, if you just do the moves that you have to almost automatically do as a general manager, like, you're not going to trade away Joe Ryan, right? Or if you just bring back the guys with the raises they're going to get. Payroll comes out right now to like $90 to $95 million as sort of a base. Before yesterday, that payroll level was like at 125 to 130. So they saved themselves about $30 to $35 million. A big chunk of that is obviously the Correa contract, which they save about $20 million a year.
And will they reinvest it? Right, that's the big question. And I think Aaron asked that question to Falvey. Exactly are they going to put that money back into the team or not?
Yeah, and that is the big question, right? If Falvey is going to be able to continue to work with even the cut payroll level that they had the last 2 years, he's going to have some room to maneuver this offseason. If, on the other hand, that payroll is cut even further and they have to start thinking about, well, we got to maybe now trade away Pablo Lopez and his $20 million salary.
But you don't think we're in like a pirate situation, right? Like, we're not in a purgatory here for 3-4 years.
Right. And I think it's also worth pointing out that Poles might not own this team much longer. That is definitely, this team has been up for sale. We heard from Rob Manfred that he expected something to happen. I'm hearing behind the scenes that I will tell you, behind the scenes, there's a lot of optimism. Now, whether that optimism is based on anything or not, there's a fair amount of optimism that this team is going to be sold and we're going to see some changes in ownership.
Hey, John, real quick before we let you go, I have kind of a big picture question for you and a small picture question for you. So, how damaging is this to the fan base, to the brand right now? And then put it in context of the long and weary history of Minnesota sports, as far as, like Norm Green taking the North Stars and KG leaving, like all of these big moves that just stirred everything up. Where would you put it?
Well, I mean, I think we are this is one of the most bizarre days in Minnesota Twins history. I think that's undeniable. I will say where it leaves the fan base is sort of where it's left the fan base for years. I mean, this is also the same ownership group that tried to contract the Twins and just sell them into nothing for $250 million like 25 years ago, right? And, they're, in retrospect, had they done that, they'd have cost themselves another $1.25 billion, right? Because they're going to sell it now for $1.5 billion. I think this is I don't think this is, first of all, I don't think it's as big of a deal in terms of the future of the franchise as some of these other things. Because I do think I think there is a path forward for them in 2025, 2026. And if it's the last gasp, the last piece that we see before the Pohlads are ushered their way out the door in terms of the ownership group, that's probably appropriate that we have a fire sale just before the Pohlads shut the doors.
And I'll just end on this. The apathy is real. The TV deal put a lot of people like me who are huge fans in a weird position. People who would, just like me growing up, had it on in the background, who couldn't have it on in the background and talk about it with their kids. The apathy is real, and that's not a good thing. You'd rather have people be angry at you than apathetic about you, and I think there's some real apathy with the Twins fans right now.
Yeah.
And I think that apathy even extends sometimes to a little bit within the organization. I not that they don't care within there, but I think the unsurety of what is happening, both for their jobs as well as the future of the team, is definitely part of what is the organization has been struggling with over the last 2 years. Well,
you know what fixes everything, everybody? Winning. Winning fixes everything.
It's a recipe for success.
All is forgiven. So, John Bonus, thank you so much for joining us, taking some time out on what's going to be another very busy day for you. Twins Daily, Zone Coverage, and also Gleeman and the Geek podcast. Go check it out. You do such a great job. We're all very big fans of yours.
Good seeing you, John.
Thank you so much.
Good seeing you. Take care. All right. Thank you, Seth.
Of course.
Appreciate it as well.
I
mean, it's just, we're going to be talking about it for a while. All right. You want to take